conflict and false allegations. Is there anyone in attendance at tonight's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency of the federal, state, county, city, or township agencies present? Just state your name, your state, and your position. Third and final reading. This meeting is private, bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflict and false allegation, is there anyone in attendance at tonight's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency of the federal, state, county, city, or township agencies present? Remember, this can be a notary, poll worker, school board member, anybody that's signed an oath to the fact of government. Just state your name, state you're in, and position. Glenn, it's all yours.
Okay, this is actually, I'm planning on doing this part of it. I'm not going to do the whole thing because it's like about 200 slides, and I don't think we'll get through the whole thing. And also, I want to save it for Sunday when I do the Northeast Private Information Share. But this is to give people an idea on what's going on with Trump, okay? Because people are getting antsy and wanting to know how come he's not doing anything, and I think he is. He's just got to lay some foundation. But so anyway, so let's start with McCarthy was right. I don't know how many of you know who McCarthy was. His name was Joseph McCarthy. He was back in the 50s. He came out and said that the United States, let me read it here. This is taken from Wikipedia. Joseph Raymond McCarthy, November 14th, 1908 to May 2nd, 1957. I think he died when he was 47. I think they probably killed him. Anyways, was an American politician who served as a Republican U.S. Senator from the state of Wisconsin from 1947 until his death at 48 in 1957. So he was 10 years in the Senate. Beginning in 1950, McCarthy's Cold War attentions fueled fears of widespread communist subversion. He alleged that numerous communists and Soviet spies, sympathizers had infiltrated the United States federal government, universities, film industry, and elsewhere. Ultimately, he was censured by the Senate in 1954 for refusing to cooperate with and abusing members of the committee established to investigate whether or not he should be censured. The term McCarthyism, coined in 1950 in reference to McCarthy's practices, was soon applied to similar anti-communist activities. Today, the term is used more broadly to mean demagogic, reckless, unsubstantiated accusations, as well as public attacks on the character or patriotism of a political opponents. So anyway, so that's McCarthy, and actually he was right. So my blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website, sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email address is engineerwin@yahoo.com. My YouTube profile is Sovereign Living. YouTube has now monetized my channel. So we'll see how that plays out. But they've demonetized a bunch of my videos, and I still have to sue them, so they know. Just so for the record, YouTube, it's coming. Facebook community page was deleted due to censorship on the part of Facebook. My private group on Facebook, Sovereignty International, is being deleted. Actually, the biggest opposition or obstacle to me deleting that is that I want to ban everybody off the group. And I can't do that. I mean, it's a huge job. There's like 17,000 people on the group, and it takes like about 6 or 7 steps. A friend of mine has offered to create a bot that will do it, that will ban everybody off the group, and I think that's a great idea. I need to approach him and get him to do that. He'll probably want a donation of some sort, and I don't mind. That's worth it. Anyways, I have a free list private group called Administrating Your Public Servants. I've got a Google private group called Administrating Your Public Servants. Follow me on Steemit at Sovereignty International, on HowTube at Sovereignty International, and on Rumble at Sovereignty International, and on True Social at profile on X, because they were censoring me, and so I'm not on X anymore. So I don't know how many of you have heard of Norman Dodd. Norman Dodd, this was back in the 60s. Okay, there was a House Committee on Un-American Activities, and Norman Dodd was a retired banker who was asked by the House Committee on Un-American Activities to investigate the tax-exempt foundations to see if they were helping the communists. So he was a retired banker, so he knew all those people, eh? Anyways, he went to the Ford Foundation and the Carnegie Foundation, and they openly admitted that their objective was to prepare the United States for a merger with the Soviet Union at the time, and their instructions were coming from the White House. And these tax-exempt foundations gave them complete access to their records. They needed to gain control. They said that they needed to gain control of the State Department and the educational system. And so what they did is they went and approached. They talked to there's some foundation that the Guggenheim Foundation. That was it. And they wanted to know if the Guggenheim Foundation would appoint a teacher, an educator to like Harvard or Princeton, that would view history the way they wanted it viewed. And they said, sure, no problem. So by doing that, think about it, they got control of the educational system and they got control of the State Department. Anyways, Norman Dodd sent a young assistant, a young lady, to research their records, and she was so devastated by what she found out, she had to stop. She couldn't do it anymore, and she had to go for counseling. I mean, it just like crushed her. And they were getting all of their instructions from the White House at the time. Anyways, so we're currently in the middle of a communist insurgency and counter-insurgency. Okay, this is my book. My book about Trump is now available, and it's talking about some of this stuff. Mike Blackwell asked me to write the book. It took me about 6 weeks. And then Mike had to babysit me for 6 months to get it ready to publish. And so that's why he hired a company to help us with the book, and they went and wrote this. This is on the back of the book, is what you see here. And I think it nails it pretty well. It says, in Trump, a true American patriot or not, Glenn Fern and Mike Blackwell reveal the depths of corruption, deceit, and manipulation infesting our political system for hundreds of years, regardless of political affiliation. Read the hard evidence that exposes how our elected officials sold Americans into slavery. Understand the Founding Fathers' true intent when they formed our Republican form of government. Discover the influence of the satanic Roman cult on our politicians and political system. Does Donald Trump want to transfer power back to we the people? And Trump, you'll see the great battle that is upon us. And you got that right. I think they just nailed it there, I'll tell you. Anyways, the book is available on Amazon. You can also buy it on my website. If you get it from my website, it'll have an autograph or a signature. It's an autograph, really. Anyways, do you want to know the origins of the deep state and who's behind it? It's in the book. Do you want to know why it's called the Trump administration? There's a reason for everything. Do you want to know what an administration is? Do you want to know how Trump came to be president? Do you want to know who owns Congress? You know, Trump was invited. There's actually a guy by the name of Jerome Corsi that he's got a PhD in political science. He's got a YouTube channel, a website, and he's written a bunch of books. And there's a YouTube video that says that he was visited, where he says that he was visited by 5 generals in 2015, and they said they were going to overthrow Obama. And he said, well, you can do that if you want, but you might want to talk to Donald Trump first. 3 months later, he gets a phone call. They decided not to overthrow Obama because Donald Trump had agreed to run for president. So Trump has actually said that he was invited to run by about 200 generals. And so, yeah, that's where it's at. So he was invited. Do you want to know who owns Congress? You know, Pelosi used to get up there and say, we can't read this bill until after we pass it. Well, that's because she's taking orders from somebody. Think about it. You want to know why they're called law enforcement officers? You know, I got this book called The Law, and there's law enforcement officers all over the place in there. And so think about it. They're law enforcement officers are here to enforce the martial law. Do you want to know how you have become a slave? Well, think about it. What is a slave? A slave is someone who's forced to work for nothing. Well, isn't that, gee, that sounds like taxes. You're forced to pay the government taxes. You're forced to work for them for nothing. Matter of fact, that's my first Supreme Court case that I went when I sued the IRS and went to the Supreme Court. And I said, this is slavery. And they don't want to talk to me now. I kind of like that. They don't ask, I don't tell. Do you want to know what the root cause of the War of Independence was? It's in the book. It's the same thing that's going on now. Do you want to know why every president goes to visit the Pope on their first international trip? It's in the book. They do. So Mike Blackwell, I already told you about him. Jerome Corsi, the 95% provable facts. Well, like I said, it took me about 6 weeks to write the book, because all I did is I took a lawsuit and manipulated it and turned it into the book. And so it's all facts, court cases, law dictionary definitions, international treaties. That's why I like the law. It's if it gets into a court case, then I mean somebody either it's absolutely the truth, or somebody perjured themselves. Anyways, my opinion, it does have some opinion though. And my opinion is that all of these billionaires, when they get to be billionaires, they get approached by the New World Order crowd and they get told, you're going to go along with our program or you're going to turn up dead. And so, and I believe that Trump was approached, and I also believe that that Howard Hughes was approached, and that's why Howard Hughes was busy hiding out. Matter of fact, David Wilcock talks about that. Howard Hughes, after World War II, he couldn't get into defense contracts. He's a big industrialist, and he got all these defense contracts during World War II, and all of a sudden it dried up. And so he got some young ladies to go and sleep with the military industrial contract types, and to find out, why he wasn't getting any contracts. And that's when he found out that they were planning on doing what they are doing. They want to, like the Georgia Guidestones is a perfect example, okay? They want to kill off about 95% of us and turn it into a global plantation. So Howard Hughes had actually written some book implementing that stuff. That's why, remember, Kennedy circulated $6 billion worth of U.S. Treasury notes. And so, what happened is they killed Kennedy. They killed his brother. They killed a bunch of people. And so I think Howard Hughes was hiding out because he figured he was next. Anyways, I think to Donald Trump, same thing happened. And I don't know for sure, but I do know there was a helicopter crash in 1984. It's online. You can find the articles about it. But I started out in 1976 working on helicopters as a mechanic. And so I know a little bit about helicopters. And I can tell you that this helicopter crashed because the blades came off. Well, the helicopters don't crash because the blades come off. They crash for a lot of reasons. I've seen helicopter crashes, and it's not pretty, let me tell you. But they don't crash because the blades come off. They have a tail boom and a tail rotor drive shaft, and those tail rotor bearings, sometimes they lock up. And so that was my job as a mechanic, they had a temperature sensitive paint on those tail rotor drive shaft bearings, and I was supposed to check them and make sure that they hadn't gotten discolored, because if they were discolored, they had to be replaced. And that helicopter wasn't going anywhere until the tail rotor drive shaft bearing was replaced. So helicopters crash for a lot of reasons, but the blades do not come off of helicopters. That, in my opinion, had to be sabotage. So Trump lost 3 of his executives, and he canceled out at the last minute, and so he, didn't get killed. In reality, they're not after me; they're after you. I'm just in the way. Well, I think that's right, and thank you very much. 2020 election. So this is stuff that we know went on. About 18 months before the election, Trump signed an executive order about foreign interference in our elections. During the elections, the Dominion voting machines transmitted data to a satellite owned by an Italian defense contractor and leased to the Vatican. I remember hearing that on the news. Italian prime minister resigned, a big shakeup in the Italian department. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember that on the news too. The White House counsel, Sidney Powell, went home at night expecting to come back in the morning to prepare Insurrection Act paperwork for Trump to sign. When she came back in the morning, her White House pass had been revoked by Mark Meadows, who was the chief of staff, and some people were calling Mark Meadows a traitor. And Trump offered National Guard for security in D.C. During when the Congress was meeting about the election, and Nancy Pelosi declined, and she did it in writing. Kash Patel even talks about that because they have it in writing where she declined the National Guard security. There were about 200 generals who were supporting the counter-insurrection with Trump. These are rumors, okay? Matter of fact, well, Trump actually said it, but still, until I see it in writing somewhere, I consider it a rumor. But that's what I'm hearing, is that Trump actually said it. There's another rumor as we see 250 or 650 airplane loads of gold from the Vatican, which, I'm working on airplanes all my life, and I worked on heavy jets and stuff like that. I'm figuring that one airplane load would have been about 100 tons. And so then if it was 250 airplane loads, then it would be, about 25,000 tons of gold. If it was 650 airplane loads, it would be 65,000 tons of gold. That was the rumor. Now, actually, I got it substantiated because there was a website where I saw that the Italian police said that they saw U.S. troops in the Vatican around that time. So that substantiated it, in my opinion. But again, that's just anyways, Trump regularly met with generals in the middle of the night. That's what I heard. But that would make a lot of sense. The generals told Trump he could sign the Insurrection Act, but when Lincoln did, that within 6 months they were in a civil war, and they gamed out all sorts of civil war scenarios, and the Republic fails to survive. And they believed that if Trump did sign the Insurrection Act, that within 6 months we would be in a civil war. And so Trump, this is Trump and the pimp. Well, I meant the Pope. Yeah, the pimp. Anyways, you see there how him and Obama are just laughing and chuckling and having a good old time. That sounds like Obama's doing what he wants him to do. And then he's not too happy with Trump there. Look at that, eh? It sounds like maybe Trump isn't going to do what he wants him to do. Anyways, copies of these documents can be found on my website and linked under my recent videos. For a complete set of YouTube videos with private information shares, a DVD with over 100 searchable law dictionaries and other books and forums, contact me privately at engineerwin@yahoo.com. Donations to support this work are appreciated. I prefer gold or silver coin, but as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept the IOUs, the Federal Reserve notes, the forced loans, the securities, the cashapp, gifts, the checks, the money orders. Send me an email for particulars. I'm just going to take a look at YouTube here and see what's going on. There's some comments there. It's a kangaroo court. Hi, everybody on YouTube. Okay, so we'll keep moving here. So more rumors. Trump decided not to sign the Insurrection Act in an effort to wake people up to the communist insurrection that was underway. About 18 months before Trump's first indictment, I got an email saying Trump would get indicted, but don't worry, it's all part of the show. Just before the first indictment, he came out with a meme that said, "I am your retribution. If you've been wronged by the deep state, I'll go after him after I get back into office." So think about it. And there's the meme. For those of you who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. And so he's jerking their chain. Think about it. He's good at that stuff. Chain. He's not afraid of doing it. In the news. This is stuff that was in the news. Trump was indicted several times. We all saw that. He was subjected to kangaroo courts and a weaponized justice system. There was at least 2 attempted assassinations. Just before his most recent indictment, he started talking about public hangings. And get a load of this. This is his mugshot. I think, 107 says that he probably practiced that before a mirror for a long time, just wanting to get it just right, eh? I don't blame him. Anyways, so more rumors. It came out in the various cases that went through the courts that Chinese officials were in Canada during the election, helping manipulate the 2020 election results. Hunter Biden's geolocator in his laptop showed that he was less than a mile from the Serbian headquarters of Dominion voting machines during the election. Patrick Byrne has said that the Venezuelans, the Cubans, and the Chinese were working together to rig the elections in 71 countries around the world, and they're quite proud of it and brag about it. Patrick Byrne has said that the Venezuelans have offered a $15 million bounty for him to turn up dead because he exposed them. Patrick Byrne has published a 3-part video series on Rumble entitled The Enemy Within, in which he shows that Obama was involved in a soft coup. Kash Patel has published an hour-long video on BitChute entitled Government Gangsters, in which he exposed the Russia hoax as well as FBI corruption. Patrick Byrne has said that one of the methods the Venezuelans and Cubans and Chinese and the Serbians use in the Dominion voting machines to rig the elections is a RAM drive. Does anybody know what a RAM drive is?
Random access memory.
Sorry?
Random access memory.
Yes,
Randomly
exactly.
pulls it up, unlike tape.
So what they do is they set up a drive in the RAM, and they install programs in there, and then these programs go ahead and rewrite all sorts of things in the RAM and in the hard drives. And then what happens is when the computer shut down or the Dominion voting machine shut down, the RAM just goes away. And so there's no evidence or very little evidence. You're right. That's exactly what it is. It's accessing random access memory. And so it's a RAM drive. You can actually set up a RAM drive in the RAM card. There's lots of room in there to set up a RAM drive. Anyways, so Patrick Byrne talks about that. McCarthy was right. Since World War II, the military has launched 4 counter-insurgencies. The first 3 failed, and this one is successful so far. Kennedy was the first counter-insurgency, and they assassinated him, his brother, and others. Nixon was the second counter-insurgency, and they set him up with the Watergate scandal. And Reagan was the third counter-insurgency, and they infiltrated that one. The Cloward-Pivens strategy. The Cloward and Pivens were 2 communists in the 60s that outlines their 3-step strategy to overthrow the Constitution. Number 1 is spend money like mad to destroy the dollar, which they were definitely involved in. Number 2 is open the borders to let millions of communist enemies into the country, which is actually, we all saw it going on there, folks. Number 3 is weaponize the justice system to attack patriotic Americans. There's a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose this plot. And that was 7 days before he got assassinated. I want to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. Yes, and I think that's what needs to happen. But after they arrest the top officials and put them in jail for a long, long, long time. JFK exposes ruthless conspiracy, the president, and the press speech. We are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that believes in covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. And that was his speech that he gave 7 days before they killed him. Donald Trump and tutored Trump on the tactics the communists would engage in. Bush Sr., Clinton, Bush Jr., Obama, and Biden are all communists. Obama and Biden are both implementing the Cloward-Pivens strategy. Its very important part of the communist strategy was to cause a civil war. Obama was busy encouraging racial hate to cause a race war. They wanted to cause anarchy because out of anarchy usually emerges dictatorship. Obama weaponized the news media. They all worked to weaponize the justice system. This is the horseshoe political theory. So you have the center, which is, you know, and then you have the left and the right and the far left and the far right. And you notice it comes down to a horseshoe because once you get to and on the left is communism and on the right is fascism. And so what happens is that the reason it's open right there is because that's anarchy and anarchism, white supremacists, you know, trans cult. It's all out of anarchy emerges dictatorship usually. That's why the horseshoe political theory. Bush Sr., Clinton, Bush Jr., Obama, and Biden are all communists. They spent money like mad to destroy the dollar. They supported foreign dictators. They overthrew good foreign governments. They created gun-free zones. They engaged in false flag operations to disarm the people. And look at that. It's interesting how the pimp is so happy with Obama, and he's sure not too happy with Trump there, that's for sure. So all warfare is deception, Sun Tzu, okay? The Sun Tzu art of war, it's all about deception. All warfare is deception. Appear weak when you're strong, appear strong when you are weak. Never, ever tell the enemy what you're going to do, okay? You always set them up and sandbag them. Obama attacks America. He weaponized the justice system to populate the jails. The White Hats needed to prevent a civil war. They did not want people killing each other in the streets. They needed to wake people up to what was actually happening. The greatest asset is an armed, patriotic Americans. Excuse me. There's more arms in the hands of American people than there is in every other army on the planet combined. So Trump's job was to jerk the chain to the communists to get them to expose themselves. And he's really good at that. Think about it. So here's the Communist Manifesto, the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto: abolition of private property, a heavily progressive and graduated income tax. That's all in place. The abolition of private property, that's somewhat in place. Actually, that's part of what I'm fighting right now with my court case. Abolition of rights of inheritance, confiscation of property of all immigrants and rebels, centralization of credit into the state with the national bank, that's in place. Transportation and communication centralized into the state. All factories and production centralized into the state. Forced work for everybody. Eliminate differences between the city and the country, and centralized education system. Most of that's been implemented. But Trump has actually started to dismantle it, like he's gotten rid of the Department of Education. He's been doing a bunch of things to get rid of it. Trump's job in the first presidency, this was where I was actually working on it, and so let's eliminate that. And what he did also, I was just thinking, it was just here, back here. So I gotta work on this one. There was something else I was going to put in here. I can't remember what it was, so I'll have to come back. This is slide 47. Trump's job, he eliminated the Department of Education, turned it over to the states. He's talking about eliminating the IRS and replacing it with the External Revenue Service with tariffs. Talk about eliminating the Federal Reserve, eliminating the weaponization of the Justice Department. The FBI wants to make the U.S. a world hub for cryptocurrencies. No central bank digital currency. He fired 200,000 federal employees, 75,000 employees took buyouts. He eliminated all diversity, equity, inclusion employees. 10,000 to overhaul the State Department. Remember, in that testimony before the House Committee on Un-American Activities, they had to get control of the State Department, so he's undoing that. In the Norman Dodd testimony, that was it. He's been dismantling the communist system that is largely in place. He shut down USAID, shut down the department that wants to fire 20% or more of the total federal workforce. Elon Musk fired 80% of Twitter. Doji found 14 computers that sent out for 8 years. So it was 8 years. According to a date that was in the computer, one of the computers. Elon Musk fired Doji found 14 computers that sent out $5 trillion unaccounted for 8 years. They know it was at least 5 trillion. It might have been more. They really don't know. Some believe that this is just the tip of the iceberg. He called Jerome Powell a major loser. Think about it. He's jerking his chain. I love it. But he also said he's not going to fire Jerome Powell. I don't know if he, maybe he doesn't want to fight that battle. He's busy fighting all these judges, communist judges and stuff. Anyways, Cliff High says we have a debt-related system. The transition from a debt-related system circulation. The transition from a debt-related system is deflationary. Think about it. It'll cause deflation if they have to get rid of the debt. This is going to cause some wild swings in the economy until things settle down into a new equilibrium. So I have exclusive content available on howtube.com. It's $9.99 a month for the videos plus unlimited email consultations. But I'm not a liar. Well, I meant an attorney. No, I meant a liar. But I can tell you what I would do and where to find the forums. The only power that these New World Order Satanists have over us is through fraud and deception. These communists. We'll leave it the way it is, I guess. And my agenda is to expose it for all our benefit, but I cannot fight all the battles. Some of my exclusive content is an Arlington private information share, land deed training, estoppel certificates training, foreclosure estoppel certificates training, corporate denial training, toll roads notice and demand training, invoice training, notice of void judgment training, revocation of signature training, third-party witness training, federal habeas corpus training, revocation of voter registration, criminal complaint training. I got about 3 videos up about that. Lawsuit training, I got 1 video. I need to do more. Other training requests, I'm open to any requests, but it's got to be something that is within the scope of my channel, and it's got to be something I haven't already done. I've got 600 videos up right now, over 600. So I've done a lot of videos. Northeast private information share videos, some of them are in the exclusive set and some of them are public. I need to do one for a petition for writ of mandamus. The videos taken down from YouTube are in the exclusive videos. First videos of all new uploads, all forms, files, and other instructions are available for free, linked in my videos and on my website. All exclusive content will be available on HowTube, and you can buy a subscription there. And it's Sovereignty International. Now, you have to understand that I have no control over billing on YouTube. So you cannot send me $10 and expect me to sign you up, because I can't do it. You got to do it yourself. You got to sign up and do what they want you to do. Anyways, so we were attacked, communist warfare. We were attacked with Cuba, Venezuela with a stolen election, and actually Serbia and I think England and France are some of the NATO countries that attacked us as well. The Vatican is also implicated in the election interference. We were attacked by communist George Soros and the Nazi World Economic Forum. This is literally a war of good versus evil. The Republican is the only form of government that's not eternally at open or secret war with the rights of mankind. So Trump has been releasing classified information piecemeal. Again, we need to be able to digest it. People need to invest to take a look at it and see what it says. Once it's declassified, investigators need to look it over. He released the JFK files. I've seen stuff now that show that the CIA was involved in the JFK assassination. Then he released the RFK files. Next is going to be coming the MLK, Martin Luther King files. X22 report says the Epstein files will be last, because that's all the CIA. Okay, so he's doing it piecemeal. This is actually an email I get from Jim Rickards. This was Monday, April 21st, which was 4 days ago. And they're talking about a bond market crash. Okay. Cliff High is saying that there's going to be a bond market crash. Well, this is one of the bond market crash is real. One of gold's best weeks ever. Won't be the last, and more. And so that's coming from Jim Rickards, and that guy is a brilliant guy. He doesn't make those kinds of statements. I mean, he's admiral, retired Admiral Rickards. He teaches at the War College. He doesn't make statements like that unless it's what's happening. So,
What do you mean?
anyways.
Bond market crash. What does that mean? A bond market crash, if I may, please.
Okay, well, the bond market is huge. Okay, the bond market is on Wall Street. Okay, you have a stock market and you have a bond market. Let's see what other kind of markets are on Wall Street. There's like the S&P 500. There's the Nasdaq. There's the Dow Jones, and then there's the bond market. Okay, the bond market is bonds, treasury bonds. They buy and sell them all day long. And T-bills, T-bonds, there's treasury notes, there's treasury bonds, there's all sorts of stuff. It's huge. There's like, well, think about it. How much in debt is the United States government? Like 37 in debt is the European governments. They're in debt trillions. Then that's all on the bond markets. The bond market, that's why I say the bond market is huge. It makes the stock market look like nothing. And so that's where, and I think that's all I'm going to cover today as far as this presentation is concerned. And so I'll be, so the bond market is absolutely huge. It's trillions and trillions of dollars. The stock market is not near as big as the bond market. The stock market is like a drop in the bucket compared to the bond market. And so Cliff High says that in the 30s, when the stock market crashed in 1929, the depression didn't really set in until the bond market crashed in 1931, and that's when the depression started setting in, and because the bond market is huge. And so think about it. How does the bond market work? The bond market works. The price works inversely to the yield. So, in other words, if the price goes down, a bond market crash means the price is going to go down. That means the yield is going to go up. And the Federal Reserve changing interest rates doesn't mean a hill of beans to the bond market. If there's a bond market crash, there's nothing the Federal Reserve can do to stop it. And it's completely out of their control. And so I think that's why Trump is jerking Jerome Powell's cage, because he's getting ready to blame Powell for it. Although you know the Fed doesn't have any control over that at all. I think he's going to blame Powell for the stock market crash, and just blame Powell will get blamed for everything. Anyways, and so I think that's what Trump is setting it up to do. Anyways, so we'll see what happens. I think Trump is pretty smart though, and he's let's see what it says here. Do I have something here? Oh yeah, I think we're living in Book of Revelations. Okay, yeah, this is court cases. The rest of it's court cases and stuff like that. Except that maybe down towards the end, it might be some more stuff. But anyways, that's enough for today. Yeah, the bond market is huge. Rickard says the bond market is crashing right now, and it can go on for a long time. Well, when I say a long time, maybe 6 months or something like that. That's where gold is going to go through the roof, and I think silver is going to pop. They're saying that gold and silver are both going to start taking off, in May, and that's next month. That's in a week, and so 10 days, a week, less than 10 days. A week.
4 days, Glenn. You're busy vacationing. You don't know how many days you have left in the end of April. No, it's May is Tuesday.
I know I'm leaving. I'm leaving on Monday. Is it Tuesday?
Yeah, well,
It is.
April's only got 28 days, right? Or 8, no.
May
What
is
am
the
I
first
talking?
of is Thursday.
That's right.
But
See?
you're right. April's only got 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So May the 1st is Thursday. So anyways, um, you're right. Um, so I guess we'll see how it all plays out. I think that you know Trump he's got to start making arrests here pretty soon. People are getting pretty antsy, and there was actually an arrest today. There was one today where there was on CNBC. Let me see if I can find that. There was a judge that got arrested today.
Not Pelosi?
No, no, not Pelosi. Be nice if it was. It would be nice if Comey. See Comey get arrested too. Where is it?
She was trying to protect an immigrant, an illegal alien.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Federal authorities arrest 2 judges in escalation of Trump's immigration clampdown. 2 judges now. It was one earlier. Milwaukee Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan on obstruction charges. Her arrest came one day after federal authorities arrested a former New Mexico judge and his wife on charges related to their reported harboring of an undocumented immigrant with ties to the Nicaragua gang. Good, good. Go Trump, go. That's what this video is all about. I'm going to be doing it on Sunday, and so you'll be able to see it on YouTube there too. This is a live stream for today, but it's not the whole thing. The whole thing will be on Sunday. So the important thing is to it's going to get really lots of chaos. Let me put it that way. The markets are going to be doing all sorts of stuff. Um, they're saying, Cliff High said that he saw silver at $500, and silver is going to go beyond the price of gold. And so, I don't know if you have any silver, but I would encourage you to get any silver, especially junk silver. Junk silver is the best, and the reason it's the best is because it's money, and so they can't. There's no need. I was Miles Franklin. Talked about that one time. What's his name? Andy Scheckman said that they don't have any reporting requirements on junk silver or the silver eagles because those are money, and so there's no reporting requirements. Bullion, yes, they have reporting requirements. They have to tell the IRS. But the junk silver, and I don't really care anyways. The IRS doesn't want to talk to me, and I don't ever give out a social security number. I don't have a social security number, and so that none of that matters as far as I'm concerned anyway. So, but they don't want to talk to me, and I kind of like it that way. They don't ask, I don't tell, and so that's why I put that stuff in there. If I accept donations, but I prefer gold or silver coin. But as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept the fake money, the military script. The reason I have that in there is because of an 1873 court case called U.S. versus Carlisle, where the Supreme Court said everyone and everything not privileged is sovereign, and so discharging debt with limited liability is a privilege. That's why they go and tax you. That's all it takes. And so, yeah, so there's stuff happening, and I think it's only going to get more and more. Um, and I was listening to a General Flynn video here today, and General Flynn was saying that this FBI in charge of New York went and ignored Bondi's order, and so Bondi went there and she fired him. And General Flynn said she shouldn't have fired him; she should have arrested him. So I like General Flynn; he's good people, I'll tell you. Anyways, it's easy to make second guesses on anybody when they're doing that stuff. She whatever she did, she did. But at any rate, I think that there's going to be all sorts of stuff going down, big time, big time. You're going to see very high profile people get arrested. I don't know if Congress is going to adjourn for the last time. Remote viewers saw it. If that happens, though, then what'll happen? Think about it: is we'll be under martial law, and and uh, and everything. They'll really start arresting members of Congress and all sorts of shit when that happens. If that happens, there'll be a bunch of members of Congress that'll get arrested, and a bunch of them. And so we'll see. That's all I can say. They're not going to arrest them when they're sitting in Congress. Although they might arrest some. Some of them I think deserve it. I don't know. That's their call. But the shit is hitting the fan right now like you can't possibly imagine, and it's going to get worse. And Cliff High talks about it. It's just going to get worse for the rest of this year. He said his motto is "Stay alive in 25." So it's the chaos is going to get worse. I'm planning on leaving here on Monday, but I might leave Sunday night just to avoid traffic going through DC because I always have to travel through D. The traffic is pretty heavy, and I'll be back in Texas. And, anyways,
Back in your old stomping ground, yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you could call it my stomping grounds. Actually, I
For
think
sure.
I'm,
You're next Canadian.
I am, but I like Arizona actually, and so I'm probably going to wind up. I know I'm going to end up in Arizona, and I've had dreams about it, and so I know that I'm going to end up there, and so we'll see how that plays out.
The northern part? The northern part?
No, actually, south of Phoenix, Casa
Oh, okay.
Casa Grande is where the dream I had. I was in Casa Grande, and I had a scanner, and there was a lady with me. I don't know who it was, but there was a young lady. Might have been my daughter, but I don't know. Anyways, there was a young lady with me, and I had a scanner, and there was something about a tsunami coming in, and so I had an airplane. We went to the airport, the Casa Grande airport, and we got in the airplane. We were flying around, watching to see this. We watched the tsunami come in and take out downtown Casa Grande. And and I don't know if you know anything about Casa Grande. There's a street in downtown Casa Grande called Dry Lake Bed. Anyways, so I don't know the circumstances around a tsunami coming in to take out downtown Casa Grande, but it's definitely desert for sure. Anyways, we'll see. That's all I can say. But I
Well, they
love
say the
Arizona.
Grand Canyon once had, the Grand Canyon once had water.
That dream that you just mentioned triggered my memory from 1999. I was standing in a red dirt cave. I don't know how to explain it. I'm from Chicago. But it was like Arizona dirt now that, I'm in hindsight. But I was tracing this hieroglyphic on the cave wall that was a lion. And all of a sudden, carrying me like a little baby kitten by the nape of my neck, not hurting me, and showing me what's to come. And when you said it's coming, I'm telling you, my friend, and just how you just articulated that and how it triggered from that was 1999. I will not forget that. That is insane.
Well,
How long ago was your dream, Glenn?
I was, I can't remember. I'm thinking it was in my 20s.
Holy shit. Well, if I go to Arizona, it's going to be in the north then.
Yeah, I like the desert. I never realized how much I liked the desert until I was traveling from Texas to see my daughter in Coolidge is about 10 miles from Casa Grande. It's about 50 miles south of Phoenix. Anyways, I was traveling to see my daughter, and I got out at the Las Cruces, New Mexico rest area, which is, near El Paso, and and it was in the middle of the summer, and there was a blast furnace. There was a blast furnace blowing heat in my face, and I still remember today, even thinking, "Man, does that ever feel good?" I never realized how much I liked it until that happened. And then there's another thing. One time I went to this, it's a Wilcox, Arizona. Wilcox is on I-10 in southern Arizona. It's on I-10, goes through Tucson and then goes east to New Mexico. Anyways, there's a town on there called Wilcox. And so there was a gun show there. And so I was selling my book. So I went to the gun show wanting to sell my book, but I was driving from Texas. And so I went through the back roads through Camado, New Mexico, and what's the name of that other town? The capital of New Mexico, the county seat of it was the county seat.
Santa Fe.
No. The county seat of Catron County. The county seat of Catron County. I can't remember the name of that town. It was forested. Anyways, and you come through this back door into this you go over this pass, and you're up at the top of this pass, going through the mountains on the east side of New Mexico, and there's these huge trees, like huge trees. It's like in a U.S. forest area, so there's nobody that can have a house there or anything, but these huge trees, and then you come over this hill, and there's man, it's like a huge view. You see this huge view. You could probably see all the way to Phoenix at nighttime, but it was kind of smoggy, kind of dusty. Arizona's kind of dusty, you know. But I was thinking there's land for sale up there, and I was thinking, man, that'd be a great place to have a house. And it's off the beaten path. And if I had like 40 acres and an airplane, I could fly into Phoenix and go shopping whenever I wanted. But then I get away from it all out in the country, and I like the country, you know. But I'm a country boy, and this would actually be up in the higher elevations. It'd be cooler too, although I'm not sure how much cooler it'd be. I mean, it was gorgeous country up there. I'll tell you, the trees, the huge trees, man, that was gorgeous. It'd be nice to have a house in those huge trees, but probably not, given you know how they. Of course, who knows what the future holds, but these huge trees, yeah. It was a gorgeous view, and it was like way up high. You're up probably 5,000 feet. You look down in this valley, and there's right up here where you're at, there's people selling land, 160 acres, you know, that kind of stuff. And so you could buy, you know, a section of land, which would be enough for a runway, and have your own little place to park your airplane. And then I mean, you could fly to Phoenix. You know, it'd probably take you maybe an hour to fly there, but it'd be a lot quicker than driving, let me tell you. But anyways, yeah, I like Arizona. You know, that's the nice thing about Arizona. Even down in Casa Grande, you know, you're in the desert. It's hard desert, and you look in the mountains and you see the snow up in the mountains. And you can drive up in the mountains and you can play in the snow. And when you're tired of it, you come back down in the desert. and when I get tired of it, I go back down where it's nice and warm.
Yeah, you don't want to get out of short season. I know you're not used to that anymore.
I know. Yeah, that's right.
You retired your park guide. You told me that already.
Yep, I definitely got rid of the park.
Well, if you go near those big trees, you have to watch out for the predators. Like the one I posted in the chat just earlier before I came on. There's tick season where I am right now, and I had a tick that was on my sweater. I had a bright white sweater on. I was just walking my dogs around a bunch of big trees where I always walk them, but this is the time of year that they're out there in drones. And I had one on my white sweater right on my shoulder. Oh my God. So I got it off, my sweater off without moving my right arm. Tried to flick it off or get it out of the car, of course, so that it wouldn't be in the car. And of course, it wouldn't even leave the sweater. So I put it in a water bottle and I took a picture of it. And one of those things attacked me when I was 2 years old. My parents found it had. Well, if you get into those big trees, you make sure that you check for tick season.
Yeah, you're right there. Yeah, that's for sure. Well, this land was desert pretty well. It was not too far from the big trees, but it was desert on this high plateau sort of land, and you probably like 3,000 or 4,000 feet above. You can see all these
Yep.
towns and stuff down. You can see for miles.
I just put it in the Glen Fern room. I'm pretty sure you're talking about the high road between Taos and Santa Fe, Taos.
Taos and Santa Fe? No, it's not.
Taos.
No, I
No.
know where
Travels
Santa
through.
Fe is and
Yep.
Taos. That's in northern New Mexico.
Yeah.
This was like in
And
central.
it says awe-inspiring.
Oh, it's
Okay.
gorgeous
Yeah,
country.
sounded like what you said.
Gorgeous country for sure. Yeah, even up there, it's gorgeous country. That's for sure. There's a guy in Albuquerque that builds houses out of garbage. Believe it or not, he does. He's an architect too, and they're nice houses, and he sells them for
Those
like
earth
millions of
ships?
dollars. Huh?
Are you talking about the earth ships?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna make one of those. I love those.
Yeah, that isn't garbage. That's clean living in my view. Okay, that's like engineer 101. If I could do that, that would be a dream. Okay, I've even got my lobby and doorway already planned out in a draft book. Call it my engineer 101. Even my own septic system, Glenn. You would be so impressed. That's what I do on my downtime
Well,
when I'm not dealing with fraud.
yeah, I know what you mean. That's what these guys do is they recycle all the water like 5 or 6 times, and yeah, it's all. I mean, it's huge amount of recycling, and so they don't need. They have solar panels for electricity, but nice and cool. Even when it's 100 degrees out, it's nice and cool in the house, and 120.
Yeah, you're built into the earth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's got like you have a little waterfall in there and all sorts of stuff. They're nice. They're pretty nice houses. They sell them for millions, I tell you. And the guy goes all over the place showing people how to build their own houses like that. With old tires and all sorts of stuff, eh?
Sand walls. Yeah, sandbag walls. I've seen those. Those are, hurricane worthy or sturdy and everything. So, and then you don't get any bills from the big bad utility companies.
Right. Yeah, that's part of the battle is to be self-reliant.
That's the dream. That's my dream right there. That's my dream.
That's not too far away, actually. I think that that's in sight. That's in sight. I can see it coming. Especially if this exceedingly works out, I can see that coming really soon.
Yeah, well, you can subdivide me off a couple of those 160 acres, and I'll build that earth home for you.
Sure, you can be a neighbor.
Absolutely, we could design batteries and everything, and well, definitely get in our own airline strips so that we don't have to deal with shitty traffic like we do in mainstream matrix crap.
Yeah,
What do y'all think about those tiny homes Elon Musk is building? They're self-sufficient.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's doing. I'm not interested in something somebody else builds, anyways. And
Yeah, that's the best. So cut the YouTube channel for a minute. I gotta ask you a question, and I don't want